A peaceful Saturday afternoon in a quiet suburban neighborhood was shattered by an act of cruelty that would ignite a firestorm of rage and justice. Under the shade of a towering oak tree, 10-year-old Ethan sat sketching, his pencil dancing across the pages of his sketchpad, weaving fantastical worlds of dragons and castles. The air hummed with the laughter of children and the soft rustle of leaves, a perfect moment frozen in time. But this tranquility was about to be obliterated by two men who would push a grandfather's patience to its breaking point. Henry Mason, a retired prison guard with a steely gaze and a heart forged in decades of confronting human darkness, watched from his porch. His weathered hands gripped the armrests of his rocking chair as he saw two strangers strutting down the street, their uniforms emblazoned with the insignia of the Homeowners Association. Their authority felt hollow, their swagger reeking of self-entitled power. They zeroed in on Ethan, their shadows swallowing the boy's small frame. The taller man, with a sneer carved into his face, pointed at Ethan's sketchpad. "Vandalism!" he barked, his voice dripping with contempt. "This is public property. You can't deface it with your scribbles." Ethan, his voice trembling, tried to explain. "It's just my drawings." But the second man, shorter and scruffier, leaned over and spat directly onto the sketchpad. The wet stains spread across Ethan's vibrant artwork, a deliberate act of malice that silenced the neighborhood. Gasps rippled through the gathering crowd as Ethan's face crumpled, his sanctuary violated. Henry's blood boiled. The scene before him wasn't just an attack on his grandson, it was a mockery of everything he'd fought for in a career spent taming chaos. He'd seen cruelty in the prison yards, but this was different. This was his home, his family, and these imposters were defiling it. His heart pounded with a fury he hadn't felt in years, a righteous anger that drowned out the aches of age. He rose, each step toward the men heavy with purpose, his presence a storm cloud rolling across the sunlit street. "Apologize," Henry demanded, his voice cutting through the air like a blade. The men laughed, their arrogance blinding them to the danger they'd provoked. "Go back to your rocking chair, old man," the taller one sneered. That was their fatal mistake. Henry's patience, honed by years of navigating volatile inmates, was shattered. In a blur of motion, he grabbed the taller man, slamming him through a nearby picnic table with a sickening crunch of splintered wood. The crowd gasped, frozen in awe and fear. The second man, his bravado evaporating, tried to back away, but Henry seized him by the throat, pinning him with a grip that spoke of decades of authority. "Who gave you the right to spit on a child's dreams?" Henry growled, his eyes burning with a fire that made the man tremble. The crowd's whispers grew louder, some cheering, others murmuring about the violence. Was Henry a hero or a vigilante? The question hung in the air, sparking tension among the onlookers. The second man choked out a stammered apology, his voice barely audible. Ethan, clutching his ruined sketchpad, watched wide-eyed as his grandfather became a towering figure of justice. The fake HOA officers, their uniforms now a pathetic disguise, slunk away as police sirens wailed in the distance. The crowd erupted in cheers, but not everyone agreed with Henry's methods. Some parents whispered about the brutality, questioning whether he'd gone too far. Others saw him as a protector, a man who'd stood up when no one else would. The neighborhood was divided, the incident igniting heated debates over justice, authority, and the line between right and wrong. For Ethan, the moment was transformative. His sketchpad was ruined, but his spirit was not. He looked at Henry with new eyes, seeing not just his grandfather but a man who'd faced down bullies with unflinching courage. That night, as they sat together, Henry gently turned the pages of Ethan's sketchpad, pointing out the beauty in the smudged lines. "They can't take your imagination," he said softly. Ethan nodded, his pencil moving again, each stroke a defiance of the day's cruelty. The neighborhood changed overnight. Where once there had been polite nods and distant smiles, now there was camaraderie. Front yards became gathering spots, filled with laughter and shared stories. Carpools formed, neighborhood patrols were organized, and a phone tree ensured no one faced trouble alone. Henry's stand had shattered the invisible walls between homes, forging a community united by a shared resolve to protect their own. But the debates persisted. Some called Henry a hero, others a hothead who'd risked too much. Henry himself was haunted by the day's events. His past as a prison guard, where he'd earned the grim nickname, Iron Coach, for his strict discipline, weighed heavily. He'd made choices in those concrete corridors that still haunted him, decisions that saved lives but cost others. Defending Ethan felt like redemption, a chance to right the wrongs of a career spent in moral grayness. As he watched Ethan sketch, Henry felt a flicker of peace, knowing he'd passed on a legacy of courage. That evening, Henry sat at the repaired picnic table, surrounded by neighbors, young and old. The air was thick with anticipation as he shared stories from his past, tales of grit, sacrifice, and the hard-won lessons of standing firm. "Courage isn't about being fearless," he said, his voice steady. "It's about doing what's right, even when you're scared." The children listened, wide-eyed, while adults nodded, their resolve rekindled. The stories wove a tapestry of hope, urging everyone to dream big and act boldly. As dusk settled, the neighborhood glowed with a renewed sense of purpose. The fake HOA officers were gone, their defeat a cleansing wind that swept away fear. Ethan played with other children, his laughter a testament to resilience. Henry, his chair creaking softly, knew justice was a living force, one that demanded action and unity. The community stood stronger, its bonds forged in the fire of that afternoon's chaos. But the story doesn't end here. Was Henry's violence justified, or did he cross a line? Could words have solved what fists did? These questions linger, sparking debates that challenge us to think deeply about justice and morality. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Did Henry do the right thing, or should he have handled it differently? And what about pranks or teasing in relationships? When does a joke go too far, and how do you draw the line? Your opinions matter, so let's get the conversation going. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next story. Together, we can explore the truths that shape our world.